Close your eyes for 3 seconds. Think about the street you live on, the sounds outside your window right now, the feel of your phone in your hand. Now open them, because everything you just imagined, every single piece of it, will be gone in 100 years. Not destroyed, not forgotten, just so completely transformed that if you were teleported to 2125 right now, you would not recognize a single thing around you. Not the cities, not the language people use to talk to each other, not the bodies walking past you on the street. You would feel like a caveman dropped into Times Square. That is how different it will be. And here's the part that should keep you up at night. The changes are not coming in 100 years. They are already here, right now, quietly accelerating beneath the surface of everything we think we understand. This video is not about a distant theoretical future. It is about a transformation that started the day you were born, and it will finish long after you are gone. So the real question is not what will the world look like in 2025? The real question is, what kind of world are we building right now without fully realizing it? Let's find out. The planet has a fever, and it has had one for a long time. We have spent decades treating climate change like a problem for future generations, an inconvenience, a political football, something to debate rather than something to survive. But the Earth does not debate, it just responds. And by 2025, the response will be visible from space. Here is a number that climate scientists keep returning to: 1.5 to 2 meters. That is the projected rise in global sea levels by the end of the next century. And before your mind glazes over with statistics, let me make that number real for you. Picture the skyline of Miami right now, the gleaming towers, the beachfront hotels, the highways jammed with traffic every morning. By 2125, significant portions of that city will be underwater, not flooded, underwater, permanently reclaimed by the ocean as if they were never there. Now multiply that by every coastal city on Earth: Mumbai, Shanghai, Jakarta, Alexandria, Ho Chi Minh City, New Orleans, parts of London, all of them facing the same slow, unstoppable encroachment. And it is not just cities. The Maldives, an entire nation of islands home to over 500,000 people, could simply cease to exist as livable land. The Netherlands, a country that has fought the ocean for centuries, will be in a battle unlike anything its engineers have ever faced. Bangladesh, one of the most densely populated places on Earth, could lose 30% of its landmass. Where do those people go? By 2125, climate researchers estimate that anywhere between 1 and 3 billion people could be classified as climate migrants. People who did not choose to leave. People who had no other option. 1 to 3 billion people moving. Now here's the detail that history keeps trying to warn us about. Every single time in human history that large populations have been forced to migrate under desperate conditions, the regions they moved to destabilized. Resources ran short, cultures collided, governments fell, wars started, not because people are inherently violent, but because when survival is on the line, every other value gets negotiated away. The wars of the 21st century were largely fought over ideology and power. The wars of the 22nd century may be fought over something far more primal: water, farmland, breathable air. But wait, because just as you feel the weight of that settling in, something else is happening simultaneously, something that changes everything. While the planet is reshaping itself, humanity is doing something it has never done before in its entire 300,000-year existence. It is creating a second mind. Artificial intelligence in 2025 already feels almost supernatural to most people. It writes, it codes, it composes music, it diagnoses cancers that human doctors miss. It designs drugs in hours that would have taken research teams decades. And we are, at this moment, approximately at the dial tone phase of the internet. Think about that. In 1965, if you told someone that within 30 years, billions of people would carry a device in their pocket that connected them instantly to every other human on Earth and contained the sum of all recorded human knowledge, they would have called it fantasy, absolute science fiction. That is exactly the position we are in with artificial intelligence right now. By 2025, AI will not be a tool you use. It will be a layer of reality you live inside. Every road, every building, every hospital, every power grid, every government system will be managed, optimized, and partially governed by intelligence that is not biological. Picture a city in 2025. There are no traffic lights. There are no traffic jams. Every vehicle, whether it is on the ground or in the air, is part of a single coordinated intelligence that knows where every other vehicle is, where every person needs to go, and calculates the most efficient path for all of them simultaneously, in real time, with zero error. There are no hospitals in the traditional sense. Instead, there are diagnostic centers where an AI system can sequence your genome, analyze your blood markers, scan your body at the cellular level, and cross-reference your results against the medical histories of 10 billion people in under 4 minutes. It does not guess at your diagnosis. It knows. There are no courtrooms because the legal system has been redesigned around AI arbitration that can process evidence, precedent, and ethical frameworks faster and more consistently than any human judge. Does that sound like Utopia, or does it sound like something else? Because here is the question that no one in Silicon Valley wants to answer honestly. If the machines handle everything, what do humans actually do? Some economists have a beautiful answer. They call it radical abundance. The idea that when production, logistics, healthcare, and infrastructure are all fully automated, the cost of living drops so dramatically that the very concept of poverty becomes obsolete. People are freed from labor not as a tragedy, but as a liberation. Freed to create, to connect, to explore, to simply be. It is a genuinely compelling vision, but there is another answer, a darker one. What if radical abundance is only radical for some people? What if the transition to an AI-managed world does not eliminate class divisions, but permanently encodes them? A world split not by nationality, not by religion, but by a single brutal variable. Who owns the systems? Because if the machines produce everything of value, and those machines are owned by a small number of individuals or corporations or governments, then those owners do not just have wealth. They have something no ruling class in human history has ever possessed before. They have total, algorithmic, invisible control over the conditions of everyone else's life. And the terrifying thing is, the people inside that system might never even realize it is a cage. Now we need to talk about something that most people are not emotionally prepared to confront. In 100 years, the humans walking this earth may not be entirely human, at least not in the way we currently define the word. This is not metaphor. This is not dystopian speculation. This is the current trajectory of biotechnology taken seriously. CRISPR gene editing, which was only discovered about a decade ago, already allows scientists to open the human genome like a document and rewrite specific lines of code. They can remove the genetic markers for hereditary diseases. They can modify predispositions. They can, in theory, enhance specific traits before a child is ever born. Today, this is controversial, heavily regulated, practiced only in rare cases under enormous ethical scrutiny. Now give it 100 years. In 2125, genetic optimization before birth may be as routine and socially accepted as prenatal vitamins are today. Parents will not just hope their child is healthy, they will be able to make specific choices about what kind of body, what kind of immune system, what kind of baseline cognitive architecture that child begins life with, for those who can afford it and for those who cannot. Their children will compete in the same world against people who were biologically engineered from conception to outperform them. That is not a metaphor for inequality. That is inequality written permanently into human DNA, but the modification does not stop at birth. Brain-computer interfaces are already a reality. In 2024, the first human patients with implanted neural chips demonstrated the ability to control computers with thought alone. No hands, no voice, pure intention, translated directly into digital action. That is version 1, barely functional, a proof of concept. Version 100, built on a century of iteration, could be something so far beyond what we can currently imagine that trying to describe it feels almost dishonest. But here is an attempt. Imagine waking up in 2025 and deciding you want to learn Mandarin, not study it, learn it fully. In the time it takes to download a software update, a language package is integrated directly into your neural interface and you are fluent, not approximately fluent, actually fluent at the level of a native speaker who grew up in Beijing. Imagine being able to share not just words or images, but actual memories, actual felt experiences. You go on a trip and want your mother, who is too old to travel, to experience it, so you simply share the memory file. She does not watch a video of your trip, she feels it. The temperature temperature of the air, the smell of the market, the weight of the emotion in that moment. Imagine the boundary between your biological mind and the vast digital knowledge network of civilization becoming optional, a setting you can toggle. And then ask yourself the question that no philosopher, no theologian, no scientist has a clean answer to. At what point does the edited, enhanced, connected, modified version of a person stop being a person and become something else entirely? And here is the one that stops people cold. If your memories can be stored digitally, and your personality can be mapped, and your consciousness can be partially uploaded, what exactly is death? Is it still the end? Or does it become just another transition? Somewhere right now, there are research teams actively working on this question, not as a philosophical exercise, as an engineering problem with a deadline. Here is a prediction almost nobody talks about, and it may be one of the most consequential facts about the next century. The world is going to shrink, not physically, demographically. Right now, 8 billion people share this planet, and for most of human history, the trend has only moved in one direction. More people, always more, but something shifted quietly in the second half of the 20th century, and it has been accelerating ever since. Birth rates are falling, globally, consistently. In almost every nation that reaches a certain level of education and economic development, the same pattern emerges. People have fewer children, sometimes far fewer. South Korea's birth rate is currently so low that, without intervention, its population could collapse by more than half within a century. Japan is already experiencing the economic and social strain of a rapidly aging, shrinking population. China, which spent decades trying to limit its population growth, is now desperately trying to reverse a decline it cannot stop. Demographers now project that the global population will peak sometime around 2080 to 2100. And then begin to fall. By 2125, the Earth may have fewer people than it does today. But here is the twist that makes this genuinely strange. The people who are alive in 2125 may live far, far longer than any generation before them. Aging research is one of the fastest moving fields in modern biology. Scientists have already demonstrated the ability to reverse aging markers in animal cells. They have identified the biological mechanisms that cause deterioration over time. They are actively developing interventions designed not just to treat age-related diseases, but to slow the aging process itself at the cellular level. In 2025, it may be entirely common to live past 120. Some serious researchers believe the first person who will live to 200 is already alive today. Fewer people, living much, much longer. Try to feel the weight of what that creates. Power in human civilization has always refreshed itself through death. Leaders die, dynasties end, new generations bring new ideas, new energy, new priorities, and old power structures are dismantled or reformed. But what happens when the people at the top stop dying on schedule? What happens when the billionaires, the politicians, the institutional power holders of today are still alive in 75 years, still accumulating, still consolidating, still making decisions for a world that has changed completely around them while they have not? History has never faced this question before, because until now, time was the great equalizer. If time stops working, what replaces it? We have arrived at the fork in the road, and it is real. It is not a dramatic device. It is the actual situation humanity is moving toward right now in real time. On one side, there is a version of 2125 that is almost impossible to fully comprehend in its beauty. Picture a morning in this world. You wake up in a city that produces 0 carbon emissions. Not because people sacrificed their comfort, but because fusion power came online in the 2040s, and now energy is so abundant and so cheap that the entire concept of an electricity bill is as archaic as paying for water from a river. You step outside, the air is clean, actually clean, in a way that most people alive today have never experienced, because industrial pollution has been phased out not through legislation, but through simple economics. Clean technology became cheaper, so everyone switched. The building you live in grew its own food on its vertical garden walls. The streets are quiet because autonomous transport handles all movement invisibly and perfectly. The city around you is not concrete and glass in the way cities are today. It is woven together with living architecture, structures designed by AI to work with ecological systems rather than against them. You do not go to a doctor for a checkup because a biosensor woven into your clothing has been monitoring your health continuously and has already flagged a subtle immune irregularity it detected 3 weeks ago. The AI prescribed a genomic intervention. You took it. The issue resolved. You never even felt sick. You do not worry about money in the way people did in 2025. Not because money does not exist, but because the automation economy has made the essential costs of a good life so low that meeting basic needs is no longer a source of anxiety for most people. Cancer is a manageable condition the way high blood pressure is today. Alzheimer's has been solved. The average person expects to live past 110 in good health with full cognitive function. That world is scientifically buildable. The seeds of it are alive right now. But on the other side of that fork, there is another version of 2125, and it does not announce itself as a dystopia. That is what makes it so dangerous. It looks like progress. It looks like efficiency. It looks like safety. But in this version of 2125, AI surveillance is so embedded and so sophisticated that every person on Earth is monitored, analyzed, and predictively modeled at every moment of every day. Not by a government that announces its surveillance. By systems so integrated into daily life that opting out is not a political choice. It is an impossibility, like opting out of gravity. In this version, the genetic divide has calcified into something permanent. The enhanced and the unenhanced are not just economically different, they are biologically different. They live longer, they think faster, they are healthier, and they are aware of the gap, and they have designed systems, perhaps without even meaning to, that ensure the gap does not close. In this version, the climate migrants of the 22nd century are not integrated. They are contained, managed by algorithms that sort human beings by resource consumption, by risk profile, by contribution score. People do not experience authoritarianism as boots and walls. They experience it as notifications and access restrictions and quiet, bloodless exclusion from the systems that control the quality of their life. This version is also scientifically plausible. The seeds of it are also alive right now. In fact, some of them are already sprouting. Here is the thought that I want you to sit with, the one that I think is the most important thing in this entire video. Both of those futures share the exact same starting point. This moment, right now, the world as it exists today, every single technology that could build the beautiful version of 2125 is real. Every single force that could build the dark version is also real. They are not in competition in some abstract future space. They are in competition right now, in boardrooms and legislatures and laboratories and living rooms. The people who will cast the deciding votes on which future humanity gets are not all politicians. They are not all billionaires or scientists. Some of them are sitting exactly where you are sitting right now. Because here is the thing about the next 100 years that every futurist, every historian, every philosopher eventually arrives at. The future is not a thing that happens to people. It is a thing that people make, constantly, incrementally, through choices that seem small but are not small. What technology do you support? What systems do you participate in? What do you demand of the institutions that shape your world? What do you teach children about what matters? These are not rhetorical questions. They are the actual variables in the equation. The year 2125 is not written yet. The humans of that century will look back at this one the way we look back at the early industrial age, with a mixture of awe and horror and deep, complicated feeling. They will marvel at our energy, at our creativity, at the extraordinary amount of innovation that happened in this era in just a handful of decades. They will read about us the way we read about the Romans or the Victorians, people who had so much power and so little awareness of what they were building. But they will also ask the question that every generation eventually asks about the one before it. They will look at the data we had, the warnings we received, the intelligence we possessed, the choices that were available to us, and they will ask, quietly, maybe with sadness, maybe with anger, maybe with something that does not yet have a name. You were alive at the most consequential moment in human history. You had the information, you had the tools, you were standing at the exact fork in the road where everything was still possible. So tell me, what did you choose? The answer is still being written, but not for long.